It's a good thing TVs in general are getting cheaper and cheaper because here comes Nintendo Switch Sports. When Nintendo announced not all that long ago that it would be releasing a pseudo-sequel to Wii Sports, like most of you, I was pretty surprised. I thought Wii Sports Club, the online remake of Wii Sports that only released to the Wii U, was kind of the nail in the coffin for the franchise. Also, even with the motion capabilities of the Joy-Cons, the Switch really hasn't bothered promoting motion controls at all, and developers don't seem to bother with them either. Regardless, here we are with Nintendo Switch Sports, and let's find out together if it's any good. The table for Nintendo Switch Sports was set way back in 2006 when the original Wii Sports was released, and in turn, it served three key roles for the Nintendo Wii owner back then. First, it was a simple and fun pick-up-and-play style game for really anyone of any age, which is something that Nintendo was really pushing and marketing towards at that time, and still kind of does. Secondly, it was completely free. So even with some clear imperfections, it was super easy to look past any of its negatives, being that it was included with the purchase of a Nintendo Wii console. Thirdly, it kind of acted as a glorified tech demo to showcase what the Wii remotes were capable of doing. This time around, with the release of Switch Sports, Nintendo is trying to recapture that same magic that Wii Sports once brought to over 100 million Wii owners. Nintendo Switch Sports will have instant familiarity with anyone that played any of the previous Wii Sports games for a number of reasons. I mean, it looks, feels, and even plays a lot like the original. You can even choose to play with Miis again if you don't want to use the sleeker but very limited character creator tool. Where this game begins to really differ from Wii Sports are first in its influence of online matchmaking, and secondly, the sports themselves. Wii Sports had 5 sports to choose from: baseball, tennis, golf, bowling, and boxing. Nintendo Switch Sports replaces boxing with sword fighting, gets rid of baseball, but adds badminton and volleyball for a total of 7 sports, 2 more than the original. Nintendo Switch Sports shines in many of the same areas that the original did. For the most part, the games themselves are fun to play and responsive enough to control, with the top 3 for me being tennis, bowling, and soccer. Tennis is still one of my favorites, being the most active and responsive of all the sports, while featuring enough strategy to make every match interesting, online or otherwise. That being said, it plays pretty much identical to the 2006 original, with no ability to move your character directly, something that would have been a nice addition here. Bowling is also pretty much the same as before, but now with a Battle Royale style online mode that pits you against 15 other players at the same time, and what I predict will probably be the most universally enjoyed game mode. The most pleasant surprise for me was the inclusion of soccer. It's the only game mode where we have full freedom of movement of your character, competing in Rocket League style 4v4 online matches. Also, the fact that this is not a sport that was featured in any of the previous entries makes it a fun time. Those 3 together really shine for me, and I can play them over and over again without losing much interest. Also, the more you play and win online, or just participate, the more you will move up in the ranks and unlock cosmetic outfits, which even for being as basic and limited as they are, it helps to give me incentive to keep playing. Lastly, I absolutely love the fact that I can bring a partner with me online to play co-op from the same console against others. This is such an underrated feature in gaming in general, so to see Nintendo Switch Sports of all games embrace competitive co-op online is a huge bonus, and it's probably the biggest saving grace in the entire experience. Even with those 3 standouts, my biggest gripe with Nintendo Switch Sports is the fact that there just isn't really a ton to do. I personally will get my money's worth from playing my favorite sports over and over again, especially with online co-op, but there really should be more included for a $40 game. There is a disappointing lack of modes and options within the 6 sports that are here. It's too bad that there isn't some sort of party mode to play with friends, online or otherwise, or maybe some additional motion-controlled sports minigames. Wii Sports featured some really fun training games that were an excellent distraction from the main experience, like trying to rally against a shrinking gate in tennis for as long as possible, or bowling past increasingly more difficult obstacles. To see really only bowling this time get any sort of side game modes is a big missed opportunity. Without these additional game modes or mini-games to play, more sports should have been included. There's no reason to not at least remake baseball, and personally that was a bummer not to see here. Even Wii Sports Resort, a game that can be mostly ignored but had some okay ideas, featured 12 different games and sports to play. In Nintendo Switch Sports, I also feel like 2 of the sports, badminton and volleyball, are underdeveloped in scope, too scripted, and because of that can be mostly ignored after a few plays. For example, volleyball follows the same dig, set, and spike motions with next to no actual strategy. There just isn't enough there to keep anyone entertained for very long. Luckily, the gameplay and online co-op capabilities of soccer, bowling, and tennis mostly make up for the shallowness of the other sports and the overall lack of game modes to choose from. When it comes to the final score, Nintendo Switch Sports isn't going to pull in high marks using my normal method. It builds ever so slightly on the foundation that Wii Sports set all the way back in 2006 with more online abilities and better controls, but not really in any way that's all that memorable. That being said, it does bring the Wii energy to the Switch generation, and if you fall into one of the 2 categories, either A, you enjoy playing games in a large group or party setting, or B, plan on playing online a lot, specifically co-op, I can easily recommend the experience. Just know that the game is more shallow than I expected at its $40 price point. Golf hasn't even come out yet, and so something to greatly consider if you plan on making the purchase. Peace out.
10. Knockout.